HBRC and what its return is, are you factoring in there that there's likely to be a significant rates increase associated with this project for ratepayers? So if you look about the return that the ratepayers are going to get off their investment held by the regional council, there's also likely to be a significant rate increase associated with it. So is that taken into the mix when
So I think you'll find that in HBRIC Limited CSOY, it's already targeting delivering dividends to the council that offset any loss of dividends from leasehold land and/or cash and interest arising from that cash that may be invested in this project. So that's the first point. So our objective is to deliver a neutral proposition, all right?
Right.
Okay, first point. And the second point I'd make is that over a period of time, we also aim to deliver a proposition that yields substantially more cash to the council and or its successor as a consequence of this investment, actually, over and above whatever ever been realised from previous investments.
more cash? That's a good answer.
Second question.
Second question is...
Thanks,
Sorry?
That's right.
Second question is, I'd like you to elaborate on the report you've got here about communications. And in January, we've got for the general public communications campaign, and then we've got general public again community forums and road shows. I presume this is to be some form of charm offensive, and I'd like you to describe for us what it is intended to do with the lights and show and music and marches and parades. What are you intending to do here?
Well, actually, I'd have to say that if you're relying on Duncan and myself to do the road show and the lights and the shining dancing process, it's highly unlikely it'll happen because we'll be too busy on all the other stuff. But what I would say is that, and it's an open debate from my point of view. It's one round the board of HBRIC, and equally it's one that the council needs to have a think about. But certainly, when from HBRIC's point of view, when it delivers a business case to the council, then it would make an awful lot of sense for HBRIC to do that in a way that involves a public process and to make that offer. It could well be that, for example, that we deliver a report that all of the councils are invited, councillors, you name it, that sort of stuff, and that HBRIC and the independent directors and myself outline whatever that recommendation is, why we think it makes sense.
So just so we're clear, you're talking about all the councils coming together in a public meeting. Yeah,
Yep.
That sounds good. Thank you. Councillor Bevan.
Yeah, this is just going back to the finances. When I first started reading about this project, I had understood that the total feasibility project cost was 14 million, but the budget's actually 11. Is that a revised figure?
Councillor Bevan, that'll reflect, I think,
Let Heath have a go. Andrew, he's been sitting there quietly for half an hour.
Earn your pay.
Good advice.
The 11 million is phase 2 costs. So in October 2012, council transferred the project across to HBRIC Limited.
Yep.
At that point in time, there was $3.5 million of feasibility expenditure.
Okay.
So that's on top of this 11 million.
Right. So it is actually 14 plus.
It is correct.
Okay. Are there any indications of blowouts in this budget?
Well, there is a process being undertaken at the moment, and on page 23 of the report we talk about a project reforecast.
Yep.
That's currently been undertaken with the project team. There's 4 key areas there around HBRC, internal staff time, DNC evaluation costs, consents and the EPA. So there is budget pressures there at the moment, and we are working through those and hope to come back in January with a project reforecast.
Okay. Thank you.
Just to follow up, sorry, Councillor Graham asked if the HBRIC was funding any other parties to the process.
EPA process.
EPA process. And I don't recall actually an answer given to that question.
I'm not aware of us funding any other parties and their own costs around the EPA process.
Sure.
Having said that, I mean, I'll be upfront about it. You know, for example, we do have various individuals who may have submitted to the EPA process and in front of the Board of Inquiry that are part of the team that we've had working on this thing. So, for example, Dr. Roger Marker is an advisor to the HBRIC Board. and is recompensed for that advice.
Thank you.
What's that?
Is that declared?
Yeah, well, it's absolutely.
Someone happy to take us to the recommendation? We'll get into this next one. I understand a couple of mayors have got to go at 10:30. So someone happy to move that we accept this report? Councillor Dick, or do you?
I will, but were the mayors going to be given the opportunity to ask questions? If
The
they wanted?
next session.
Next session?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you happy to move, Councillor Dick?
Yep.
Seconded, Councillor Scott. Wish to speak?
Where's the recommendation? Yeah, that's fine. I don't really think I need to speak to such a complex topic.
Thank you. You're reserving your right. Any other speakers? You wish to speak?
Just one comment, Mr. Chairman, that's on the comms. That's the HBRIC comms communications, the strategy that's put there. I think it's very important for us to start considering how we develop a communication strategy around the public consultation, and I believe we should be onto that very early so that the public are well informed before it comes out, know where to find the information, know where, what they need to get, and just keep that process. So I look forward in a later paper to how we're going to develop that information.
Thank you. You wish to sum up, Councillor Dick? Upon reflection, you're all good? Put that motion in. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Carried. Thank you. And thank you, gentlemen. Right. What is our time? 10 past. Okay. Item 9. Ruataniwha Water Storage Scheme Investment Proposed Evaluation Process. Now, I'm going to ask the mayors if they wish to come up to the table. It's not compulsory, but go up, Ian, or anywhere you like. This he's allowed up. Yeah. Oh, they're all good.
Come up here. Come up the front.
You can either go up the front or duck in wherever you go. Okay. Right, I'll hand this over to the Chief Executive to kick us off.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, Your Worships, as well. So this paper is to give an update to Council around the process that's being developed for Council to determine its decision around whether or not it invests up to 80 million in equity as a minority shareholder in the Ruataniwha Water Storage Scheme. The report itself outlines the evaluation process in relation to the proposal to invest, and this process will lead to the preparation of a statement of proposal that you will then adopt to put out for special consultative process and public submission, and ultimately a final decision. The paper gives a bit of background which you'll already be aware of and probably would have discussed in the previous agenda item as well around the business case. And it's critical to note that the consultation that's undertaken by this council as a result of this process does not need to be the financial provision for the investment has already been made as part of the long-term plan. So it's in place and it's included in our rolling forward annual plans for 2012-13 and the current financial year. I think one of the critical things from our point of view in terms of being able to make this whole process reasonably pragmatic is some of the underlying assumptions about it, and those assumptions are really set out in paragraph 9 of the paper. And what they're saying is that we're expecting that all the design and construction matters and the environmental matters will have been determined, will have been resolved, and we're not proposing that the Regional Council would have to revisit those as part of its consideration of the business case. The focus for the Regional Council should be upon the strategic financial and economic issues and any legislative requirements, particularly under the Local Government Act, that it's required to do in making its decision. So consequently, I've set out in paragraph 11 the key steps that we believe, from our point of view, need to be undertaken in order to bring a recommendation to you as part of a statement of proposal. And I guess the first, probably the key one, and certainly what seemed to me to be some of the questions in the previous paper were focusing in on, is around testing the whole financial feasibility of the scheme by commissioning an independent peer review of the RWSS business case. And certainly if I could perhaps follow up one of the answers that Mr. Newman gave to one of the questions, we would anticipate that we are already anticipating that the business case itself may come with a range of different options in terms of particularly around the potential uptake, and so that would have to be peer reviewed as part of the business case. We'll also be looking at the potential impacts of the investment on Council's future balance sheet, operating position and rates. So again, coming back as Councillor Barker had also identified around the impact on ratepayers, both in the short, medium and long term. The Local Government Act would also require that we evaluate and compare options for alternative investments, and that will be the subject, or is the subject, of a separate piece of work that will be undertaken, and we've drafted up terms of reference for that work to be undertaken. The strategic evaluation of the investment in the Ruataniwha water storage scheme or alternatives is obviously the final piece of the jigsaw from our point of view. Council has an investment policy, it has a finance policy. These are both set out and have been publicly consulted through our long-term plan and subsequent annual plans, and it's important to see how this investment could or would fit in with those policies. We've made some comment there around Crown irrigation investment. We are in reasonably constant contact with them, or just by phone and things like that, to see their main focus is really around the national economic benefit and the regional economic benefit of this. Ours, as we've indicated, is that as well, but also obviously more Hawke's Bay focused in the strategy around investing within our region. But we believe that there's certainly some significant common factors that we both need to look at, and looking at how we can jointly commission the peer review, or at least a significant part of it, so that we're not duplicating work, and obviously we're sharing costs in that particular area as well. So on paragraph 15, there's a table which really just sets out an estimate of the time required. We're looking at between 3 to 4 months for this process to occur. We believe that a number of these work streams can actually be undertaken in parallel with one another, and but the key thing for us is around the public submission process and giving people the opportunity to be heard. So those have to clearly be factored in, whereas they don't have to be factored into the Crown's timeline, for example. We have been working on preparing terms of reference for the independent peer review of the business case, and we've also been we've also drafted some terms of reference for the evaluation of alternative investments. We have those available at this meeting. We obviously don't expect you to be able to read and comment on them today, but they broadly set out the expectations that we would have of those two consultants or consultancy companies, however that turns out. So just a summary of what's in those as set out in paragraph 21. The key issues for us are around financial feasibility, around returns on investment, and obviously around business risk as well. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to... we've set out the recommendations. I guess the key thing for us is that This is a work in progress. I wouldn't say it's the start of this process. We've been working on it for several months now. What we would envisage is that every council meeting we would bring you an update on this and where things are at. So, for example, when we've appointed consultants or we've received their reports, etc., and keep you. This will become a standing item until such time as the process is concluded, so that you're up to date with where we're at and how things are going on there. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.